In this lecture, let's see how to use time scales to represent time series data. Time scale is also a continuous scale like linear scale, power scale and log scale. And time scale is very much similar to the linear scale except that input domain values, that is the minimum and maximum values of the input domain, are represented as dates. So it is almost similar to linear scales. So in this lecture, we are going to see how to use time scales in D3. Suppose we want to represent the advance tax paid by a person. So in India, we have to pay advance tax quarterly, that is during June, September, December and March. So let me add a variable with the date and also the tax to be paid. So let me add the script section within the body. We are going to add SVG and all the rectangles from scratch. Okay, so that is why I'm not adding SVG or rectangles here. Let me add the script section, and within the script section, let me have a variable details, okay, which is going to contain the details of the date and tax paid. So this is an array of objects. So I want to have 4 objects, that is for June, September, December and March. So let me add the objects first. Now within each object, I'm going to add the date on which the tax is paid and also the amount to be paid. So let me specify the first key as date itself, and as the first date, let me specify 2017-06-30. So suppose this is the first date, that is every quarter year we need to pay the tax, advance tax. So suppose we have to pay the first amount on 30th 06 2017, and next we need to add the tax amount. So let me name it as tax and let the value be say 20,000. Okay, so this is the first object. It contains the date on which the tax is paid and the amount that is paid. Now let me copy this details and paste it within all these 4 objects. And for this, let me change it to September. So let that be 31 because September has 31 days, 09, and let the amount be say 10,000. Okay, then in December, so let it be 31/12/2017 and let the amount be say 30,000. Next is to be paid in March, so 2018-03 and 31. And let me change the tax to say 15,000. This is actually not real data. I'm just using some time series data to show you how to use the time scales. So we have an array of objects. There are 4 objects within this array. Each object has date and tax. So I'm representing 4 dates and 4 amounts: 20,000, 10,000, 30,000 and 15,000. Next, what we need to have? We need to have 4 bars, right? Vertical bars, or you can even make horizontal bars. We are going to create a vertical bar chart here. So we need to represent these amounts as vertical bars for all these dates. So when we represent this data, we are going to represent the dates in the x-axis and the amounts in the y-axis. Okay, so we need to have 2 scales in fact. So to represent the date information, we need to have 1 scale, and to represent this amount, we need to have another scale. So first let me add the scale for the date information. Okay, so let me name it as where time scale equals D3 dot, the name of the method is scale time. T needs to be in capital, and similar to linear scale, we need to specify input domain and output range. Okay, so let me specify dot domain, and within this what we have to specify? We need to specify the minimum and maximum of the dates, right? So if you want, we can actually hard code these values, but they should be converted to dates, or else you can use min and max methods. So it will be a lengthy code. So let me have two more variables here, where start date and also end date. This is the minimum and maximum. So how we can do that? Let me write d3 dot min, that is the minimum, and within this how will we pass? We need to pass the details array which contains the information, and then we need to write function d, and within curly braces I need to write return. We need to actually convert this date into a date format. This is actually a string format, right? So I can specify new date, and within brackets we need to get the date. So d dot date. Hope you understand this. I will explain it once again. This time scale actually works exactly the same way as the linear scale, and we need to provide the domain and range. So for the domain, we usually give the minimum and maximum of this array, right? So here the date information is represented as string values. So we need to convert this into a date value. Now we have to specify the minimum and maximum here. So as it is a very lengthy code, I have created another variable named start date, and I'm going to use it for finding the minimum, and end date for finding the maximum. As we have already seen how to use the min method, we need to specify d3.min, and first we need to pass the array that contains the information, and then we usually write function d return d, right? But here the information is within the object. So we have to specify d.date to get this date, and as we have to convert this into a date format, we are specifying new date and then d.date, which means this information will be converted into a date format. So now the start date contains the minimum. Similarly, let me have another variable named end date. If you want, you can actually copy this here. To avoid confusion, I'm making it into a variable and going to use it here. Okay. So let me use d3.max. Again, I need to pass details array which contains the information, and then I have to specify function d, and within curly braces I need to pass return new date. We can pass d.date, which will give us the date in the date format. Okay, and let me end the statement, and here I can just specify start date comma end date, which are the minimum and maximum dates within this details array. Next, what I have to specify, I need to specify the width of the SVG element, right? So here let me use where width equal to 700 and where height equal to say 600. So for the range, I can specify dot range, which is the output range, and within this I can specify 0 comma width, because it is going along the x-axis. That is, the time information is going to be represented along the x-axis. So the range will be 0 comma width. Now the scale for the date information is ready, and here we have used the scale time, right? Next, this information also have to be scaled up or down, right? We are not going to do it manually. We can actually do it manually by dividing by 100, then we will get 200, 100, 300 and 150. But we are going to use linear scales for that as well. So let me write where, let me specify it as y scale, as it is along the y-axis. Okay. Then how I can specify d3 dot scale linear, that is the name of the method. Then again I have to specify the domain and range. So for domain, I can specify domain, and within square brackets I need to find the minimum and maximum of the tags, right? So here let me just specify here itself d3 dot min details comma function d, then here I can just specify return d dot tags. So this is the minimum, and after this I need to put a comma to represent the maximum, right? So here let me specify d3 dot max, and within this I need to pass details, comma, function, and d, and within curly braces I can specify return d dot tax. So this will give us the maximum amount. So here I have specified the values here itself. This is the min, d3 dot min, details, function d, return d dot tax, and this is the max, d3 dot max, details, function d, return d dot tax. So what will be the values? Min will be 10,000 and max will be 30,000. Next we have to define the range as well. So let me define dot range, and within square brackets the minimum will be 0 and the maximum will be height of the SVG, right? Because this amount will be represented along the vertical axis, so it will be height. Now we are ready with the time scale as well as the linear scale. Time scale is for the date information that will be represented along the x-axis, and y scale is for the amount that will be represented along the y-axis.